my name is Luca Antonietti.
And my name is Jake Haig.
Mark Boudet.
Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
So, tell us about yourself, Mark.
Originally, I grew up in Wethersfield, Connecticut, town outside of Hartford, and I'm a wash ashore since 1986.
How did you find Nantucket?
I found Nantucket, very fortunately, from a college friend. I had a little phrase on my door that said, "Who you are is where you were when." And I was fortunate enough to meet somebody from the Syracuse area who had spent a summer out here and showed me pictures of the beaches and all of the parties and the friends he had met. And I thought that'd be a great way to spend a summer. I was looking forward to getting away from Connecticut. And so I came out here and really fell in love with it. Had a great summer, made a lot of new friends, and went back to school, finished up, and then came back again.
And what?
Those words on your door, do you live by those or?
Well, I did back then, but I really think they hold true because when you consider what happens to you in life or where you end up, a lot of times it was because of where you were.
Did you enjoy school?
I did. Yeah, I was a little bit of a geek. I did well in high school and got to college. It was a little more challenging, but managed to finish with a BS in zoology and a minor in chemistry. So got it done, but then came out here and discovered that where you lived was possibly more important than what you were doing. I thought UVM treated me really well. Burlington was a great town to grow up in. It was cold, but I was younger and I was a little more tolerant to it. I enjoyed my time there and got a really good education, good quality education, as well as a good experience in growing up.
And where do you work now?
Right now, I am the nutrition coordinator for Elder Services. I run the local Meals on Wheels program, and we have a lunch program that we hold down at the Salt Marsh for seniors. Try to encourage socialization as well as good nutrition to keep people happy, healthy, and staying in their own homes.
Do you enjoy your job?
Very much so. I feel very fortunate. I get up in the morning, happy to go to work, look forward to seeing my people and how they're doing, and feel like I'm doing something that matters. So I do enjoy it.
When you were a kid, what was your dream job?
Dream job? I wanted to, you probably never heard of a show called Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, but I wanted to be one of those guys who went out and tagged animals and measured them and did outdoor biology stuff, hands-on work with animals and that sort of stuff.
Are there any other words that you live by or any other quotes?
Well, you know, some of those catchphrases, what goes around comes around, because nice matters, do the right thing, those are important. And I feel they motivate me in some of my daily things. I can hear my grandmother's voice in the background saying, pick up that piece of trash in the yard. And I do it just because it matters, because it makes a difference.
Was there any other fun things that you did when you were younger?
Well, yeah, actually, after I graduated college, I came out here and got a job crewing on a yacht. And I spent a year working on an 86-foot sailboat, sailing around the Caribbean, up and down the coast, involved with boat shows and taking care of a private family. It was a unique experience, a great way to travel. I went to 21 different islands in the Caribbean. So it was kind of a really neat thing to do right after school. No commitments. I didn't own a car, didn't have a dog. So it was an opportune time to do a little free traveling on somebody else's dollar. And I knew nothing about sailing, so it was a great experience to get involved in.
Are there any jobs on Nantucket that you had before the job you have now?
Al, I did spend 16 years in the restaurant and hospitality business. Back in the day, I used to pump gas at Island Spirits and shucked scallops. I've also, like I said, I worked for Federal Express. And before I ended up with this previous job, I was an elf at Sweet Inspirations. I used to work there Christmas, holidays, and worked on their shipping. That's how I got the job at FedEx. Was they had recruited me from that. So,
is there anyone that you thought really helped you get to where you are now?
Actually, there's Plenty of people. Very fortunate enough to have had a very supportive family. Grandparents on both sides were very inspirational to me. Spent a lot of time with them, as well as some fabulous teachers along the way. I also work for a very wonderful boss, Sherry Hunt, who is very motivational, inspirational, most compassionate person I've ever met. And
Are there any other people that you work with that you really enjoy working with?
everybody. I am very fortunate. Our program is taken care of by Kitty Murtugs, and the staff there is fabulous. David, Susie, and Charlie work very, very hard to consistently put out good food, because if you're not giving somebody something they like, they're not going to eat it. So unless you get it right from the very beginning, the program's bound to fail, and they make sure it's right.
Is there any advice you would give to us that you had when you were younger?
Well, right now, you folks need to be paying attention to your environment, as you well know. Things are a lot different. Also, too, if you plan on living on Nantucket for the rest of your life, start doing your homework now, because things are not easy. I just recently, last year, purchased a Covenant house after 35 years of living here, and age 56. I'm getting into my first home. Start early. Don't wait until you're my age.
Is there anything different in our time that was different from when you lived as a kid?
Well, yeah, surprisingly enough, I may not look that old, but my first TV was black and white. We never had a color TV. We didn't have a microwave till I was in the 7th grade. So technology has really caught up to itself, let alone, the internet and cell phones and iPads. I'm old enough to remember when. Some of the people I work with who are over 100 were around when there weren't automobiles.
Do you have any hobbies?
I am a daffodil enthusiast. I like to grow and show daffodils and try to get people interested in working with spring flowers and just enjoying the outdoors.
What got you interested in daffodils?
Well, actually, years ago when I worked at the Folger Hotel, the Garden Club had their annual daffodil show at the hotel. And it was very interesting because the hotel was seasonal. There was no heat in the building, and so there was no water. And these ladies would come in and try to set up their daffodil show, and they'd have no water. So it was, a little precarious, but we would manage to get them all set up. And then Mary Malaves told me, she said, "Have you ever entered daffodils? Do you know anything about flowers?" And I said, I grew flowers. I knew them. And I was watching all these people fill out cards and set up these little daffodils in tubes and little blocks. I was like, this is kind of cool. So I went out in the yard, took my scissors, and I cut some daffodils from the front fence. And a couple of the garden club members showed me how to enter them, how to fill out the cards, and every single thing that I entered won. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. I can do this. And then they also explained how there were different types of daffodils. There were different, I always thought a daffodil was this yellow thing. I didn't know there was white, there was pink. So it just kind of got my mind going in exploring more about these flowers and how nice it was to have this yellow fever, this burst of energy in the spring. But after March, you're like sick of it. So it's kind of fun in April to be concentrating on some gardening before you're busy and have to do other stuff, and to enjoy the beautiful colors and the beautiful styles, the beautiful shapes. There are thousands of different types of daffodils. I have 136 different varieties. So I'm slowly working my way up to try to figure out what you get. A lot of them don't grow up here. They only grow in the south. So depending on your climate, it depends on what you can and cannot grow. So I've had a lot of fun doing that. And it's fun competing, learning how to show them, trying to get other people interested in...
Is there anyone that you have gotten interested in?
Several people. Actually, for the last 6 years, I've been in charge of the clerks. That's a group of people that help the judges. They go around and mark the first, second, and third places and help the judges get everything in order. And several of our clerks have now started entering the show, which is great satisfaction for me because, we've got them hooked. They now kind of figure it out. They like what they see. They're interested in it, and they're learning more. Makes them a better clerk. Makes them a good gardener. We need all the competition we can get. We want as many people out there showing as many flowers as possible to show, have a great show.
Are there any of your favorite daffodils that you have out of the ones that you've grown?
I have a couple different favorites. My very first favorite is called White Lady. It's a big, tall, historic white flower that kind of looks like a brooch your grandmother would have worn. That was the very first American Daffodil Society award that I won with that flower, back in the day when the show was on Winter Street at the Coffin School. And last year I won Best in Show for the first time in 25 years with a flower called Goldfinger. So that's probably my second favorite now.
Are there any daffodils that you wish you've grown that you can grow?
Well, I would like to grow some that actually come up in the fall. They have varieties that come up in the fall, but we can't grow them up here. Our climate doesn't allow it. I do have some new, unique ones. One is green. It's called Mesa Verda. It's kind of a unique, funky-looking thing. That's kind of fun. And I have several that I have gotten from Ireland, which have been doing very well. They're very popular, and they're very unique, very pretty.
Are there any other environmental issues that you would wish you'd solved or made better around the world? Or
concerns about the ecology in general of the planet, with our rainforest deforestation, with the climate changing, the burning, the melting. You do wish that somehow, some way, we could figure out ways to prevent some of this. I think basically some of it's going to come down to changing our ways, changing our lifestyles to hopefully in time slow things down to the point where your generation isn't going to be seeing some of the dramatic change we are right now.
Are there any specific things that you love about Nantucket that have also made you want to stay here?
The beach. For sure, the beach. Not having that in Connecticut and Vermont, it's been an important part of my life now, and I feel it's very therapeutic. It's a great environment. I find it very relaxing. So thank goodness we have gorgeous beaches, and we hope they stay that way. Used to take my dogs years ago, but don't do that anymore. It's not exactly allowed in most places, and my dogs would probably never come back, so...
Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed meeting you, and I've known you for a while, so it was good to chat with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark gave birth to a cow when he was...
Excuse me?
What? he was working on a farm when he was before college, I think it was.
When he was a kid.
Yeah, when he was a kid.
And he helped the cow give birth.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did give birth to a cow.
Giving birth to a cow.
We learned that there are 60,000 different types of daffodils.
And we learned that he has 130 of them in his gardens.
He's planted over 4,000 of those 130s on Nantucket.